This is an R29 SL600 from 1999. And in 1999, this was the coolest Mercedes you could buy. This specific Benz is what I would like to call an old school Mercedes, because in 1999, you could buy a Mercedes with a naturally aspirated V12. And that's what this car has. And in today's video, we're gonna do a review of it. So we're gonna start with the engine, of course, because that's the most important thing. And I had to Google how to pop the hood. I pulled the lever and I was under here for a while, but this is how you do it. There's a safety lever right there inside the star, which is a little different. But now we know. So this is so damn cool in my opinion. This is a flagship engine by Mercedes from back then. This is the 6-liter V12, and this is naturally aspirated. Engines didn't make as much power back in the day, so we have 389 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque. And just like when you think of naturally aspirated V12 and all the possibilities that you have sound-wise, I get all giggity. You guys know I love the sound. A Pagani Zonda has this engine, and we all know what a Pagani Zonda sounds like. And we also know what F-Spot did to his old S600. He put out, I think it was a brilliant exhaust from Japan. And I mean, just, my God. It would be so cool to have a car like this. Obviously keep it somewhat stock, not mess around with it too much, but have a proper exhaust that makes it sound like an F1 car. I mean, that would be like the most badass thing ever. This engine is also known to be very reliable. No, drinking amounts of oil and so on. No major issues. This is just a phenomenal engine that unfortunately Mercedes doesn't make anymore. Like we said, this car is from an era where, they didn't turbocharge V12s yet. So they were NA. And yeah, I just think it's so cool. Now, looks are of course an opinion, but my opinion is that the R129 generation that was made between 89 and 2001 is one of the best looking SL generations ever. To me, it just has a timeless design, and I just think it looks so good. Now, being from 1999, it has cool like retro features for an old man like me, who's now 45 years old. It has an antenna that pops up. It's so cool. Now, while AMG was around back in these days, Mercedes cars weren't really badged a whole lot with AMG because it wasn't really an AMG. So when you saw SL600, you knew that's a V12. And if you didn't know back then that 600 stood for V12 engine in a Mercedes, both fenders had a very beautiful V12 badging, of course. Now, with it being an SL, it's of course a convertible. So you can put the top down, and this takes about 29 seconds. Makes a bunch of clanking noises. Yep. And then the top goes down, and you're just a complete freaking baller when this happens. And then, of course, you got to put up the roll bar as well. Put the windows all the way down. Oh yeah. I mean, whether you were an actual baller, like an athlete, or a CEO baller, you were just it, because this car was it. This car was so cool that it's almost like your shit didn't stink if you were driving one of these. All right, I might be exaggerating a little bit, but I'm a 90s kid. I remember these. I never saw one in person, but I read about them in the automotive, magazines and stuff like that. And this was the coolest Mercedes out at the time. Now, this car comes with a soft top and a hard top. We left the hard top back at LW Automotive, who is, by the way, providing the car for today's video. This is currently for sale. This is in mint condition for being a 25-year-old car. It's a one-owner car that has 56,000 miles on it. So huge thanks to them for letting me film this. When I saw this pop up on their website, I called the owner right away. It's like, I have to film this. This car is an icon. I just think it's so cool. So if you guys are in the market check out their website and contact information in the description below. But anyway, we left the hardtop over at the dealership, and I've been riding with the top down pretty much ever since. I gotta be careful so I don't burn my bald skull here, but it's pretty cool that it's a soft top and a hard top. Some people don't really like the soft top look. I mean, it's not really the best looking. It has plastic windows and stuff like that. So it is good to know that if you want to, it looks like a hard top, because it is a hard top. So I mean, this is back in the day, so we don't have power lift gates or, you know, trunks and stuff like that. Okay room back here actually for, you know, a convertible car. I'm assuming this is like an original car cover or something like that. Yeah, this car is mint. So we'll jump in here, take a look at the interior. Now there is like, I don't know if you can call this a back seat. No, it's just for storage, I guess. People can sit back here, but I don't know how legal that is. But yeah, very typical 90s Mercedes interiors. We've got a nice little sill plate here, if you want to call it that. And then it's like you step on up almost, although you're sitting down. And we got some carpeting here. So we got typical Mercedes wood grain in the door panel. We got the seat controls there, black leather seats. And these seats are like super heavy. This car weighs, by the way, around 4,700 pounds. So for a small little roadster, you know, it's a heavy car, but so good looking, man. I love this thing. Anyway, back to the interior. Nice looking steering wheel, actually, for being 25 years old. That's not bad at all. And then we got cup holders here. You can kind of actually fold them like that. They kind of like disappear. You can close this. And then wood grain through the mid console here as well. We got window buttons, heated seats. We got a 5-speed automatic transmission. These are the side mirror controls. This is the button you use to open and close the top. We got trunk popper right there. I don't really know what that is. That's to lock it. Suspension button. It actually, to my knowledge, I could be wrong about this, but I think it has air ride, like air suspension. You can raise it and lower it. And then this is for the roll bar. Then we got the traction control button right there. Typical, God, this is so 90s, like this radio. And then we got our climate control buttons here, and then just vents. So, you know, it's not like new cars, obviously, with a million buttons, you know, big old touch screens and a gazillion features and so on. But this was ultra luxury in 1999. And it's still nice. I mean, it definitely shows its age, but I don't know, for me, it's very like nostalgic. It's not like I had a car like this back in the day, but this is what I would dream about back in the day. And now, you know, 25 years later, I'm sitting and driving one, even if it's just for one day. But this thing is so cool, man. Typical old Mercedes gauge cluster as well, just the fuel gauge. Then we got temperature gauges here, and then average fuel economy, speedometer, tachometer, and a clock. And then we got a regular key, and we're gonna start it up because it is a V12, but it is an SL Mercedes that has an ungodly amount of restriction with mufflers and resonators and, you know, cats and all that stuff. But that's kind of what a car like this is supposed to be. It is probably the most quiet V12 I've ever driven. But again, it's an SL. It's supposed to be that way. Although, you know, you can make it sound like a Zonda. And it has that starter sound that every Mercedes V12 has. Oh, I love it. All right, let's get out on the road. Oh yeah, it has a sport mode and yeah, sport mode for the transmission, I guess. Not that it feels very sporty. And this car rides so good. I mean, it rides almost better than my S65. It's crazy how good this car rides. I don't know how good the audio is going to be with having the top down, so we're probably going to have to put it up here soon. But we got to start off our drive with the top down, of course. It is just such smooth and linear power. And again, 389 horsepower back then was, you know, insane amounts of horsepower. Nowadays, it's like it's nothing. All right, stomp it. I mean, it still pulls though. It pulls for almost 5,000 pounds and not even 400 horsepower. It pulls. And being a V12 like this, I can only imagine how this just wants to go and go and go and go on the Autobahn. I've seen videos where people get these up to 160 and probably past that if it doesn't have a limiter. These things can go pretty damn fast. So it has a power tilting steering wheel. Now it is a 99, but even back in 92, you would get power tilting steering wheel in these cars, and that was like a major thing. Now when the sun is behind the clouds, having the top down is perfect, especially on a hot day like this. I mean, it's just wind everywhere. I mean, that's normal for any convertible, really. But you're driving an SL 600, the coolest shit ever back in 1999. And if you put the windows up, it helps a little bit, but it's still windy as hell. So back in 1999, you would have to pay around $125,000 for an SL 600 Roadster. Obviously depreciation happens, but these cars have started going up in value again. This car is listed at $38,000, and it's a 25-year-old car. Now granted, it's a one-owner car, and it's low mileage. It only has 56,000. With that being said, these aren't gonna start going down in value again anytime soon. They're gonna either keep their value or keep going up, because I've said it a million times before in many of my Mercedes videos and so on, they don't make cars like this anymore. So now we're gonna put the top back up. Oh yeah, gotta lower the crash bar first. So now we have plastic windows in the back, unless you have the hardtop on, of course. And it's so quiet in here. The only thing you hear is the sound from the leather seats. I don't know, it's such a cool car, man. I love this thing. It's probably mainly me as well, nostalgia, you know, with my age, you know, growing up in the 90s, really getting into cars in the 90s. But like, yeah, this is just such an old school Benz, man. So it's definitely not some 0 to 60 beast, but when you do a kickdown, I mean, it moves though, it moves. Official 0 to 60 time from Mercedes on this car is 5.9 seconds, which again was pretty quick back in the day. Nowadays, it is slow as hell. That's also the charm of a car like this that's 25 years old. It has a naturally aspirated V12, same engine as in a Pagani Zonda, although it has less power than the Zonda. But with today's standards, this car would get his ass kicked from a standstill by like a Volvo. But it's still an SL 600. All right, so I got the cruise control set at like around 70, and we're getting about 26 miles to the gallon. I mean, that's not bad for a naturally aspirated V12. That's actually insane. But then if you stomp on it. So this is the 4th generation SL. The 1st generation with the gold wing doors is probably the most beautiful when it comes to just a classy design. And that generation is most likely also the best known because of the 300 SL with the gold wing doors. In my opinion, after that, it's this generation, the R129, and the generation after this one, which was the R230, the facelifted one, where, you know, we got the SL65 AMG. I love that generation SL as well. The one that came after that is the most horrendous looking one, in my opinion. But we all know beauty is in the eye of the beholder. and everyone has different opinions. I'm just happy that I was able to drive this for the day, make a video, and just experience it, because I don't know if I ever will again. Which generation SL is your favorite? Drop a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.